Well, hello again, YouTube. I wish this video was being done under better circumstances, but this is my Halverson HWP-140 heavy duty that we were just up in the clearing splitting wood, and noticed the little grabber arm had some play in it. I figured I would get one more log across it before I brought it down and take a look-see. And the bottom mount where this hydraulic cylinder connects actually bent and snapped out of the way. Not quite sure how that happened, being down in the bottom of the frame. So the only way that I can see to get to it, which is roughly way down in there, is going to go ahead and take off the table, the cylinder, and get this whole area exposed so I can get in there to work on it. We have 5 bolts that are a 15/16 wrench and socket size, which are right there. 5 on the front, 5 on the back. There looks to be an R-clip pin down there on the end of the cylinder to get that out, and a matching R-clip pin on that side. It takes some guesswork here and some reverse engineering on how to get all of this off of here. I've never put one together from scratch, but just kind of shooting in the dark here to see how we can get into it to fix the problem, and more or less doing this video for my own purposes too, so I can see how to put it back together again. Alrighty. Again, we're also kind of shooting this video for my own purposes. We end up taking the pin out of the back side of this first. That allowed me to get the pin pulled through the cylinder from this side. The ram was all the way extended. When we came to the back here, pulled the rear pin out of that, and that should allow us to slide the table all the way back and forth. Although right down here is where the problem is, and I might be able to get to it from here without actually taking the table off. That would be fabulous. Alright, we had the table loose. One thing that I was not taking into consideration, I could not slide this portion back all the way because the proximity sensor was in the way, and so we ended up doing, there were 4 bolts on this side that actually hold the slide plate for the table to go back and forth on. The way it's notched here and goes in, I didn't have enough room to push it that way, and because of the proximity switch I couldn't bring the table this direction. So took these 4 bolts out. They were 9/16. Wasn't too bad actually, but the table is deceivingly heavy. So here we have the table off the Halverson. Been working on this for about 30 minutes, give or take. My air compressor at the shop here went down, so I'm actually busting this out with a regular hand tool, so that didn't help. But yeah, there's the bottom bracket. Not quite sure what caused it to bend that bad. It's just picking up normal logs back and forth, and you can see where the paint flake down there where it's supposed to come up shaped like a U. The pin bolt there, I must have lost the R-clip pin. The pin itself is nowhere to be found. I have to go back up in the clearing to find that. But at least we have it open so I can get in there with the welder and the torches and put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Stay tuned. Alright, so I came back up here to the wood pile. This is where we were splitting. I'm trying to find that pin that came out of the bottom of the grab arm cylinder, and it looks like I found it. See if I can get this to focus. And it looks like the keeper end fell off, or that actually sheared off from what it's supposed to look like. You see a little bit of a welding flaw right there in the end. Back in the spring we had taken this piece here, the same keeper that goes down on the bottom piece had also failed up here on the top, and it also got pinched here on the plate that was across, but we were able to catch that because we could see it. So what I'm thinking happened down here in the case is where this bolt goes through there to keep it in the cylinder. from the cylinder going up and down as it worked its way out, just kept ramming the outside of that bracket and forced it to bend out and ultimately fail. So I figured I would take good advantage of having this thing all torn apart, and I could actually show you guys where the grease fittings are instead of just telling you about them. So basically there are 6 grease fittings overall. This is the grabber arm on top of the cylinder. Then through the access hole that's down here, you can actually get to the bottom of this cylinder because it's on the back side. This is for the grabber arm. This is for the saw on top of the cylinder, and same thing. At the very bottom of that one, again through the access hole, you can get that grease fitting. So that's 2, 4. Then this is the pivot for the saw. Goes across the shaft to another bearing. The grease fittings right there. So that's 6 grease fittings on the processor. Okay, so this is the automatic oiler. Obviously the reservoir bottle. Main feed tube goes down into the actual cylinder that pumps the oil out to the saw. On the very bottom of this, there's a lock nut, which I believe is 3/4, and then I want to say it's in 1/4 inch or 7/16 there on the bottom. If that's all the way in, you're at maximum flow. If you twist that all the way out, you actually cut it off. I like to let it run and keep the saw as moist as possible with the oil. It just makes the chain and the bar last that much longer, but that's me. You can adjust it to your preference. So this is the whole valve assembly. Most of these settings come set from the factory. This is going to be your saw chain speed, the saw bar pressure up and down, the one kind of hidden over here. What I can't tell you is that's a 3/4 inch wrench for a jam nut. That's about a 4mm Allen wrench. And when that's pulled all the way up, it gives you maximum pressure on the hydraulic ram. But again, I can't tell you that because that would void the factory warranty, but it will increase the tonnage force on the splitting ram itself. Just another overall shot of the processor without the table on it. I did leave the pin in the right side of the hydraulic ram just to keep it from flopping around and damaging any hoses as I've been moving around the driveway here. Did pressure wash it to give it a good bath. We've been running this processor since about September of last year. There's maybe, I don't know, 40 cord, 60 cord across it. Don't let it fool you. That table is heavier than it looks, and yes, I did think it was pretty heavy and it exceeded my expectations.